Okay, so we made this part, and then we made this multi-view drawing, dropping the front, the top, the right into the drawing file. So now we need to add some dimensions. So go right up to the middle here, the dimension tool. I'm going to grab, let's see, this edge to this. You can grab the two corners and then click to place the dimension, or I could grab the line itself. I'm going to click this line, again, click to place the dimension. And I also want to get an overall dimension. So I'm going to click this line, and whoops, that gets an aligned version of that perpendicular to it. That's not what I want. So I would rather get back to my dimension tool, click this edge and this full edge, and place that. I'm going to bring that all the way up here. All right, so that's the overall width. And then same thing for top, bottom, overall height. There we go. And here's where we get to the guidelines being the guidelines. Now, I was taught to always put the dimensions on the interior between sketches whenever possible, but there's also a guideline that says don't cross dimension lines whenever possible. Yeah, so you have some wiggle room here, and I'm sure whoever other people that are watching this are yelling at me because they do things slightly differently, and I get that, and that's okay. So another version of doing this is placing these dimensions along the bottom, which is doable. It doesn't cross dimension lines, but it does places a dimension kind of outside the sketch. Maybe that's more cumbersome. And here you have to kind of defer to whatever is the norm for where you're working and what you're using it for. So I'll leave it like this for now because it still communicates the same amount of thing. Your goal in the end is to communicate things as clearly as possible. Okay, so I've dimensioned all the edges of this L, and I think I have enough information to do that. I don't want to add this dimension, because this is going to start to over-constrain the sketch, because I already have the overall width, and I already have this edge, which means somebody could do math to figure out this side. I don't have to put that. So I'm not going to put that. When we talk about tolerances, that'll make more sense as to why, but I'll leave that conversation for then. So I need to dimension this hole. First, I'm going to place the center mark, and that's over here, and then select the hole, and that adds a center mark for me. On the other sketches, I'm going to add the center line, and I pick the two hidden line edges. That shows me that's the center line of that. It also shows me that that is indeed a cylinder going through the whole way and doesn't change or do anything funky. So now we need to know where that circle is located. So I'm going to go back to dimensions and zoom in here. I'm going to do this on the front sketch where I can see the actual part and the distance between this and the bottom. And now the question is, where do I place this? I don't want to place a dimension on the part itself. That seems awkward. I want to keep dimensions off of the part whenever possible. So I want to bring this out here, but now I'm fighting with this dimension. So what I do is take the larger dimension and pull it farther out. All right, so I have the smallest dimension on the inside, larger dimensions on the outside. And while I typically want to avoid extension lines crossing over into the part, it has to point to the circle somehow. So, and that's the way in which it does that. Also, the same deal here. I'll move this one out a little more so that I can add a dimension from this line to the outer edge. And now I've placed both of those. Now I know where to place the center of that circle, but now I need to know the dimension of it itself. And look, if I have a dimension tool and I hover over a thing that is a circle, it goes, oh, you probably want a dimension. Yes, I probably do. So I'm going to place that in a place that is kind of out of the way, at least, and not crossing over anything else. So I'll place that right there. Okay, so now I have length, or I have width, I have height, I have the size and location of that hole, I have this edge. The only thing I need is the depth of the actual part, and I could do that on either one of these sketches. So it's up to you, but I'm going to pick this one right here and place that there. And now I think I have all dimensions I need. And if you notice, there are no dimensions on the top sketch, so I really don't need the top sketch. If there's no dimensions on it, it's not adding any more information. I'm going to go ahead and delete it, and I'll delete the center mark that went with it.